Mornings with Will on 531 VI.
It is 11 minutes past 8 o'clock for Tuesday, the 2nd of December. Wonderful to be in your company this morning. Kia ora, kia ora, malo lelai, talofa lava. If you're just joining us, I'm William Terite. Now, we've been talking about it all morning. What could the government's new rates cap really mean for, say, areas like South Auckland? Will it ease pressure on households or make it harder to fund libraries, pools, parks and the community facilities our families rely on? We're speaking to Mangere Aotearoa local board member Harry Fatu Toleafoa about the potential impact, say, on local services, council investment and the future of our neighbourhoods. Now, talofa lava, thank you very much for your time.
Morena, well, great to be on the show.
It's great to have your company. Look, for those who've just heard about this rate cap, perhaps, from your perspective and your understanding, what do you think it means?
Yeah, look, it's probably important to understand exactly what rates are from a basic understanding. So rates are like a local tax on our properties, and basically they're the main way councils raise money for essential services like roads, rubbish, parks and libraries. It's very important that we anchor this discussion to remember that rates are the primary source of revenue for local councils. So on average, rates have increased to 9% throughout Aotearoa, and as you would have heard yesterday, the government said that this is added to the cost of living and put pressures on household budgets. So the government has basically announced a cap on raising rates, and councils are expected to raise rates between 2% and a maximum of 4% per year. And anything above that will only be permitted in extreme circumstances, like let's say, for example, a weather event as such, and it will require approval from a central regulator. In practical terms, here in Auckland, where rates are forecasted to rise by 7.9%, the proposed law would force that increase down to a maximum of 4%, meaning that Auckland Council would probably curb in their spending plans and will need to cut back and reshape its plans to fit underneath the cap.
Yeah, and that's the key word here, cut back. I mean, that's inevitably what the, social media's been lighting up with in terms of the concerns from not just here in Tamaki Makaurau, but right across the country in terms of what does this mean? What kind of response from local community leaders have you heard so far about the rate cap?
Look, I've got to be a bit honest here. Look, the announcement is still very new, so most community leaders are still working through what it means in practice. But early reactions are largely mixed, as you pointed out on social media. However, from professional groups such as Infrastructure New Zealand, they're calling it a blow to the infrastructure sector, warning that it could weaken councils at a time where we actually need to build and maintain essential assets. Also, like Local Government New Zealand, they're saying that this cap offers some flexibility, but their concern still remains in the restriction of investment in core services like roads and public transport. As you would have heard yesterday on the political spectrum, on the left, your Labour Party, they're going to vote against it, arguing that councils will have to hike fees, cut services or charge for things that were free. And Greens have also called this a distraction tactic and a blunt instrument that will hurt communities such as ours in low household incomes or low income households. Whereas act true to form, they say, look, there's still a real strain on household, but council are still spending out of control. So I guess that's the kind of the view on the political spectrum, but council community leaders are still working what this pragmatically means for their community and its impacts.
Yeah, an example that Prime Minister Christopher Luxon gave yesterday was that good old Wellington City Council toilet block that costs $2.3 million and features a rainbow light show. It's hard to argue when you get examples like that of just wasteful spend, but also on the other side of things, do you also acknowledge that when you limit revenue, something has to give? And I don't know if that's worth it for, say, our communities like in South Auckland.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that, the government love to use that example, and that's not symbolic of every council. A lot of councils throughout the country are quite pragmatic, are quite prudent around their fiscal responsibilities as such. So, if we look at communities such as ours in Mangere, right, when governments put a cap on, basically they're saying we have to reprioritize where these rates go, and reprioritization actually means redundancies and restrictions of services. And we know for a fact that when redundancies hit, it's the frontline services that are first to go, and they're our people. They're your cleaners, they're your bus drivers, they're the frontline staff. And for communities such as ours that rely on services in times of austerity, like public amenities like libraries, parks and pools and free programs as such, it's a huge blow in times of great need to our community. So whilst households are probably welcoming this news of rates reductions, what it actually means in the long run is a reduction of services and less resources committed for future generations in investment in infrastructure as such.
Yeah, and one of the beautiful but also rare things about Māngere is, the free pool and arts centre, for example. Would having a rate cap impact people accessing those facilities for free, do you think? Too early to say.
It's still too early to say, and just to be clear, we do put on a targeted rate. So the people of Māngere o Tahu or Tarapapatoi, they actually pay a targeted rate for these pools, which amount to roughly in and around the range of $30 to $40 every year. And so the blanket rate cap applies to that as well. Our concern is not necessarily that, because our people are willing to pay for free pools and keep those facilities free. It's actually, what does it mean for the other essential council services? Are we going to see a reduction in library services? Are we going to see a reduction in the programs associated to engage our youth at art centres, at libraries, at youth hubs, and so on and so forth? So that's what remains to be seen, and that's where the fear really lies, because if council or government aren't going to pay for it, well, guess who's actually going to pay for it? It's going to be our community, and they're going to be disproportionately impacted by it.
Yeah, certainly. And as you highlighted, it's been too early to perhaps form even like a sharpened view on this. Literally just came out yesterday. Are there any questions or clarification you want from central government before you actually settle on, say, a personal view?
Yeah, so, well, first of all, there's just been a historic underfunding of local government. The government of us, or the government of the day, they keep on kicking it to local government, saying, hey, you've got to fix your own infrastructure. Well, actually, we're all a country together, but just over the years, we've been incessantly underfunded. So my questions or clarifications that I'm trying to seek is what credible alternative funding tools will be offered to councils to pay for new infrastructure and maintenance. Say, if we look at Tamaki Makaurau or even Māngere, for example, we're projected to seek to have population growth, but yet our current rates intake don't account for that population growth. So we've got to be cognizant of the infrastructure and maintenance of current assets. So we're interested in terms of what the government will offer in terms of alternative funding tools. Also, in terms of exemptions, so the government did say, look, they will have a common sense fast track process for exemptions to look for investing in key infrastructure or economic growth, what that might look like. And like I said, look, there's a particular exemption. So say, for example, we want to go over 4% because some natural disaster has happened. We want to see exactly how pragmatic and timely that particular process is to ensure that local governments such as Auckland Council or even Gisborne, who have been subject to Cyclone Gabriel, can get a quick response. So just those kind of things will be able to help us land on a position or understand how this announcement will pragmatically mean in terms of frontline or council being able to deliver present and future services as well.
Yeah, the good old Mayor of Auckland has come out very vocally slamming the idea already, and launching into, say, central government, saying that the policy just simply will not work. Do you think, that harms, say, relationship between Auckland Council and central government, or is this just classic Wayne?
Look, I have to agree with Wayne on this one, but it's just, it's more a microcosm of the respective relationships that each individual council has with central government. Look, we really want central government to take a lead on these kinds of things, and these are just decisions that government make at the end of the day. Look, we could have committed $200 million to local government to preserve local amenities or help local governments assist with the infrastructure deficit. Instead, we just decided to commit $200 million to the tobacco industry. So without jumping too much into actual decisions that the government have made and its respective impacts, look, I think we'll have to agree with Wayne on this one, that it's a complicated relationship between central and local government, but there's definitely room to work together, especially around the infrastructure deficit that not just present generations are going to be facing, but future generations will pick up if we don't resolve it timely as well.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Just very quickly, 3 more questions for you. Do you think the government's advisory panel was good enough to help make such a decision?
Look, I think they were patting themselves on the back. Minister Watts was saying look, they've had considerable learnings from other jurisdictions where caps haven't been effective. Well, if they actually took the advice from the president of the local government in New South Wales, she's actually warned New Zealand, like, look, these rates caps have actually damaged councils, and they've threatened the long-term financial sustainability, and even undermined local democracy, because effectively what this does is it binds the hands of local governments in terms of their revenue streams. So the message was simple from her: if councils can't fund what they need to do, communities ultimately pay the price, either through poorer services, slower repairs, or poorer infrastructure for future generations to inherit.
Where to from now, do you think, following this announcement? Is this a game of wait and see? I mean, we're also heading into an election year next year, so this could all be untangled.
Well, that's it. Look, there's a targeted consultation which runs until the end of February in 2026. And so the government have flagged the legislation will be enacted in 2026 in allowing for a transition period as such. So the law will take effect as of the 1st of January 2027. And there will be that transition period from that date to allow the regulatory model to take place, councils to become familiar with it. And then by the 1st of July, it will be fully operational, with councils expected to adhere to it. So I think officials in the interim will monitor rate rises, and like they said yesterday, don't wait till then. Councils can start implementing it as such. But yeah, it's a remain to be seen, yet to see what it actually looks like. But just encourage our community to have their say.
Yeah, final question for you on this. This will sound, it's no secret we're in a cost of living crisis that continues to linger on for years now. There will be people that saw this announcement and thought, man, that's attractive to me. I want more money in my back pocket or something like that. What do you say to them that are kind of getting swept up in the promise of more money in your back pocket?
Look, whilst it's a welcome, temporary relief for current ratepayers, we really have to cast the eye on the future and what this means for future generations. And when councils set their rates, they're always thinking about the key infrastructure or the amenities that will impact communities moving forward. Whilst you might enjoy the benefits of a rates cap and a rates reduction, what legacy are we actually leaving for the future? And yes, there will always be arguments around councils being more financially prudent and investing and getting back to basics. But I'm a fervent believer that we got to leave councils and this world in a better place for the next generation. And that just requires a little bit of boldness, requires us to bear a bit more pains in regards to paying a little bit more, but ensuring that we leave infrastructure, public amenities and council services better for generations to come.
I couldn't agree more. That is Harry Fatu Toleafoa. Thank you very much for your time this morning.
Te lava, Will.
You're listening